Okay, cool. So today we're going to talk about I'm a co-founder of Babylon. So quick introduction. What is Babylon? So Babylon is this. Okay. So Babylon, we have launched a protocol, Bitcoin staking. ZZ mentioned a little bit about the largest native Bitcoin protocol, 56,000 Bitcoin staked on the protocol. So, whoa, 56,000, okay. That's the largest protocol. Now, so this protocol inspired us to say, okay, if you can build something trustless on Bitcoin, which is what this protocol is, people will come. So when we started this project a few years ago, people say, hey, Bitcoiners are not interested in doing anything. They're not interested in doing anything DeFi related. They're just interested in holding the Bitcoin in the wallet, cold wallet. So this, in my mind, is like an experiment. It showed that that is not true. When you build something trustless and secure, Bitcoiners will come. Okay, so this inspired us to build a new technology, a new product called Trustless Bitcoin Vault, to, in some sense, generalize this to a much broader range of applications. So staking is a very fundamental but a specific application, DeFi application, and we want to generalize this, take this protocol, generalize this to many, many applications in DeFi. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. All right, so the problem is to make Bitcoin productive. 2 trillion Bitcoin, hopefully still 2 trillion, I don't know, lost track of the numbers. It's kind of going down a little bit. But don't worry, when it comes down, it'll go back up. Not a financial advice though, not a financial advice, as ZC said. All right, so we don't know, it may not go back up, so we never know. All right, okay, so Bitcoin sitting there, roughly 2 trillion asset, nothing much to do, nothing much to do. On the other side, we have, hey, where are we? We're in Death Connect. So let's pay our respect. Most of the action is actually on Ethereum. So smart contract Ethereum, lots of action, lending protocols, Aave, Morpho, DEXs, etc. Question, how do we connect the two together, right? That is the problem of BTC5 relay. Now, I would like to analyze this problem from a trust point of view, okay? Now, Bitcoin is designed in such a way to achieve essentially trustlessness, only trust the miners, okay? Smart contract Ethereum also designed to be trustless, trust only the Ethereum 1 million validators, very secure network. The problem is not these two individual networks, they're fine. The problem is the connectivity between the two. That is not fine. And if you are Bitcoiners and you want to say, put your Bitcoin into Aave to borrow some USDC, then basically the main solution nowadays is to get some WBTC or CBBTC. However, this is trusted, okay? ZZ mentioned how trustless, how secure BitGo is, no problem. But BitGo is still centralized. It's still an entity. And Nakamoto says, no trust, no trust. So we follow that narrative. So, but the actual data gives some a hint that indeed having a trusted bottleneck is no good. Because if you add up the numbers, it's less than 1% of total Bitcoin passes through this narrow trusted bottleneck. And our job here is to remove this trusted bottleneck so that you have an entirely trustless system, end to end. And the question I ask is, can Bitcoins participate trustlessly in Ethereum smart contract? Okay, now, just to contrast a little bit with CC's talk, okay, just to spice things up a little bit. Now, CC talked about L2s, okay, L2s. So here, the focus is not L2. Why? Because, hey, you know what? There's already a chain there called Ethereum. Things are happening there, so we just directly inject Bitcoin into Ethereum. So that's a little bit of a different view of the problem. All right. So the goal is to build a cross-chain protocol, in some sense, such that Bitcoiners will only need to trust Bitcoin, the blockchain, Ethereum, which means the Ethereum blockchain and the smart contract that you want to participate in. Of course, if you don't trust the smart contract, then don't worry about it, you know. You don't want to participate, okay? And very importantly, math, okay? So math is where I come in, okay? I do math. That's what I do for business, all right? And so math is what we trust. All right, so let's talk a bit about the math. What is the math here to build this protocol that we want to, we're building? So the math, if you think about it, is the following, okay? You have two secure chain, Bitcoin, Ethereum. What you need to do to create this end-to-end system is essentially to be able to prove what happens on one chain to the other chain, right? Now, proving what happens on Bitcoin to Ethereum is a solved problem, okay? This is called a Bitcoin-like client, okay? In fact, Alexei has built a Bitcoin-like client multiple years ago, okay? So this is a well-established technology. Now, what is non-trivial is the other way around, which is to verify Ethereum smart contract state to Bitcoin, okay? And that's the hard problem. Now, a lot of progress in ZK technology in the past few years, okay? Great progress. In fact, I think Leland will be here in some succinct talk about SP1 example. And of course, there is boundless from risk zero, okay? So that is not the problem. The generation of proofs now can be done, okay? So you can do proving. However, the problem is the verification. How do you do the verification of the proof on Bitcoin? And that's a challenging problem, okay? Now, a Bitcoin verifier, someone has actually built this, believe it or not. They wrote in script the entire ZK verifier, Growth 16 verifier, on the Bitcoin chain. It can be done. It only takes 250 Bitcoin blocks, that's all, okay? And Bitcoin has one weird thing, which is it doesn't have persistent memory, which means that every time you use this verifier, you have to put this 250 blocks in. So it's completely impractical, guys, impractical. And so the innovation here that enables our technology is a concept called off-chain verification, okay? And you achieve this by running a so-called Garbled circuit, all right? And so using this as a core, we built this technology called Trustless Vaults. So we proposed this white paper back in August, whereby we use this technology and we built this concept called a vault, which enables basically Bitcoiners to put Bitcoin on the vault on the Bitcoin chain, which is basically UTXO. And the spending conditions of this UTXO is obtained by essentially verification of ZK proofs of smart contract state. So you use the smart contract state to drive what happens to this vault, and therefore everything can be done in a trustless fashion without a third party like Coinbase or BitGo to dictate how your Bitcoin can be spent, okay? All right, so after this white paper, we work hard and we built a proof of concept, okay? Now, the trustless vault is actually quite an interesting primitive in the sense that it can be used for many applications. In fact, the very first application is the Bitcoin staking. So you can view the Bitcoin staking as an example of a trustless vault protocol. And in some sense, we try to generalize this. And so the proof of concept we built is focused on another application, which I think is a very important application, which is Bitcoin-backed lending, okay? Now, Bitcoin-backed lending is actually a very natural use case for Bitcoin because why? You're holding a Bitcoin, okay? You're holding a Bitcoin. You're hoping that long-term it will grow. So these few weeks, a little bit problem. But long-term, it will hopefully grow. And the Bitcoiners hold these Bitcoins, but there's nothing much to do with it. So by making it into a collateral and put it in a lending protocol, you can get USDC and you can do many interesting things with the USDC, either real-world stuff or DeFi strategies. It's a very good use case because Bitcoin really cannot participate in too much DeFi strategies, okay? All right, okay, so Bitcoin-backed lending is what we built. So this is the schematic, and this is our first introduction of this idea of a trustless vault So there's no flash, there's no laser here actually. Okay, that's fine. I want laser, yes, because it's flow. But can both work?
Well,
Can both connect to the machine?
no, let me get it working. Yeah. All right, so take this. I'll get it working.
Get it working. Don't worry about it. This seems like a technical limitation. Let me talk when you go.
Point it for you.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Oh, you can point from me. Vote. All right. So here's the vote in the middle. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
It's fine. Let's minimize overhead here. Coordination overhead, okay? All right. We have the vote, which is the Bitcoin vote, which is a UTXO. In the case of Bitcoin-backed lending, we have the borrower depositing into the vote, and there are two withdrawal conditions. One is if the loan is repaid and the Bitcoin is above, say, a certain LLTV threshold, in this example, 86K, then the borrower, Bob, sorry, this has nothing to do with the other Bob here, okay? You know, Bob is like such a common thing in cryptography, right? I'm sure you guys use the word Bob, have some influence there. Okay, Bob repays the loan and redeem, okay, the funds from the vault. On the other hand, if the Bitcoin goes underwater, above the LLTV threshold, then the liquidator or the lender will liquidate this vault. Okay, so this is an example of a use of a vault with two exit conditions. Okay, and the objective is that both conditions can be achieved by verifying the respective state on the smart contract on Ethereum. Okay, so these states are Ethereum smart contract state. Okay, so this is the system we built, the proof of concept, and in October, a month ago, we did a demonstration. In fact, it was a real life demonstration. Real life means on Twitter. So,
Morpho, right?
yes, it was with Morpho lending. Yes, that's right. And I did a live tweet to make the engineers a little bit more nervous because what happens if it doesn't work? Okay, that would be bad. So the engineers told me, "Oh, can we train for like a few days, try a few times before we do this?" I said, "No." So this is a real experiment. Okay, it's the first time we built the system. We tried for the first time, and it worked. Okay, thank God. All right. So. So we basically built an end-to-end system whereby the borrower can deposit stuff into the vault and can get a loan from a smart contract lending protocol, Morpho. So there's nothing special about Morpho. Morpho is fine. Very nice protocol. Well, it's actually not too fine. But anyway, so it's a good protocol. But it was open source, so that allows us to create, anybody can create a market on Morpho. And so we create a market. So what is this market? This market is native Bitcoin as a collateral and USDC as the loan asset, okay? And so this is created on Morpho. Now, there's nothing particular to Morpho. This could be done through Aave as well. Aave actually just launched Aave v4 testnet yesterday. And they also allow this kind of independent or isolated market creation. So we're going to try this flow out on Aave v4 as well on the testnet. Hopefully we can do a tweet again in 1 or 2 weeks, okay? To demonstrate that this technology is really quite general and nothing specific to any particular lending protocol, okay? All right, so the Bob deposited 9,000 Satoshi, which is roughly $1 USD on that day of the experiment. We run a light client. On the Ethereum chain and create a lending position based on that deposit, and Bob borrowed the 1 USDC. Okay, this is a deposit flow. Okay, and the loan repayment flow says that, okay, suppose the LTV is still below the threshold, so it hasn't been liquidated. The borrower can now pay back the loan to Morpho, and now the borrower can take a ZK proof of the fact that he has already paid back the loan, which is a state on Ethereum, okay? So the ZK proof includes some light client of Ethereum, okay? And it's a SP1, It's called SP1 Helios. That's the light client we use, just in case our SP1 friends are here. Just want to make sure. ZK proof is sent to the vault, and redemption happens. So this is the redemption flow, loan repayment flow. On the other hand, we have similar thing, which is if the LTV exceeds LTV, then the liquidator can come in and liquidate the loan, again create a ZK proof. Now the liquidator can withdraw the BTC, not the bit depositor, okay? So all these are trustless. Now at this moment, you should complain, guys, okay? Because I just told you that Bitcoin cannot really verify ZK proof, right? We need a 250 Bitcoin block verifier to do this verification. So how can the verification happen? This flow seems to say that Bitcoin understood the ZK proof and therefore do some action on the left-hand side. That's not the case, okay? Bitcoin actually is so stupid that it just received the ZK proof as a bunch of stuff, and then that's it. So what is the magic here? So the magic turns out to be that there's a actual challenger, okay? Now the challenger is the opposing party. So in this example, there's Bob, the borrower, and Larry, the liquidator, okay? So now suppose Bob is doing something bad, okay? So Bob wants his Bitcoin back, but Bob doesn't want to repay the loan, right? He wants the Bitcoin and the USDC. Very greedy guy, Bob, okay? I feel so bad, you know? I feel so bad because, you know, this is entirely non-intentional, guys. This is entirely non-intentional. It just happens that Bob is B and is a borrower. That's why it was used, okay? Not Alice. Otherwise, we would use Alice, okay? All right, so Bob did not pay back the loan. So in fact, it sends us the invalid ZK proof because it doesn't really have a proof that paid back the loan. So it just sends some garbage invalid proof, hoping to cheat Bitcoin and still get the money back from Bitcoin, okay? The challenger, however, is the liquidator, okay? Which represent the interest of the lenders. It's like, no, this is no good. This proof is obviously invalid because he can look at the proof, okay? And the mechanism that is important is to enable the Larry to stop Bob from withdrawing the BTC because the proof is invalid, okay? So this is a so-called optimistic system, just like in Arbitrum, it's an optimistic system. However, it's a combination in some sense of ZK and optimistic technology, okay? Now, here is what happens under the hood, okay? What is important here is how can Larry stop Bob from borrowing on Bitcoin? So Larry can certainly verify for himself that no, the proof is no good. But how can it stop Bitcoin from Bitcoin chain from giving the money to borrower? That's the trick. So under the hood, we use a technology called ZK verifier, okay? You didn't correct this one, yes, okay. Garbled circuit, all right, garbled circuit. So what's going on is that Larry runs a ZK verifier off-chain. But this ZK verifier is cryptographically authenticated in the sense that Larry cannot run some garbage computation and claim that Bob is wrong, okay? It has to, in some sense, run the ZK verifier, and if the proof is invalid, then a secret will be revealed if and only if the proof is invalid. And that secret can be used to so-called open a hash HTLC, hash time lock contract, okay? This is a very basic primitive on Bitcoin that a lot of protocols build, which basically says that if you reveal a secret, then you are correct, and the HTLC will stop the Bob from withdrawing the fund. Okay, Lightning, for example, uses HTLC. Atomic Swap uses HTLC. This is a very standard trick. What is non-standard here is the Garbled circuit, which in some sense gives an authenticated ZK verification. All right, so that's the core technology here that makes it work. And and the whole system is practical. So the happy path flows that I showed earlier cost about 3 or 4 USD worth of gas fee on Ethereum and Bitcoin combined, okay? Now this flow is a bit more expensive. It's about $100, okay? However, this is an unhappy path, so it doesn't happen often. and it should almost never happen, okay? All right, so that's it. So this is the crypto economy that we're going forward, which is to use this concept of trustless vault to create a lot of interesting applications that can enjoy the Bitcoin as an asset, as a collateral asset, to enrich these contracts on Ethereum and other blockchains. Thank you very much. This is the white paper. Take a look at it. It contains all the ideas I talked about today.
Thank you so much.
Give away this? All right,
He's
man.
getting one.
All right. Oh, you're getting one. Yeah. So is it one per person or one per question?
It's for the first question.
Oh, for the first question. Okay, all right. It doesn't matter what the quality of the question is.
Hopefully this is
All right, Hodo.
My main question is, who is paying this 100? Because, you know, if I'm cheater, I will be executing it every few seconds. And
The $100, very, very important. The $100 is put in by the depositor, as additional collateral, so that if bad things happen, then essentially our protocol makes sure that this money will be used to compensate for the honest party, right? Because there's a challenger and there's a guy who's trying to prove something, okay? One of them is wrong if this interaction happens, and the money will go to the other guy.
Can I try a few times saying that, yeah, I paid,
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It just every time you try, you lose money.
Okay.
It doesn't stop. It doesn't. Yeah, it can never disrupt. It can never disrupt the functioning of the protocol. It can only cost you money, because now extra transaction fees are now paid, and now the cheating party will be paying that fee.
Yeah, so from the collateral, yes?
Yes.
Okay,
It's a good question,
Can I ask additional question?
but you don't have this anymore, so.
The question is, what if the collateral is lower than the amount of requests sent? As you said, if I ask for refund and I lose the money if I am not honest, what if my collateral is smaller and the number of requests exceeds?
So there are two collaterals here, okay? There's a collateral for your loan, okay? And then there's an additional collateral to pay for the transaction fees, okay? You referring to the second one or the first one?
No, to the first one.
To the first one.
Yes.
The collateral should not violate the LLTV threshold, right? Otherwise you get liquidated.
Okay.
All right.
I'm going to wait for the mic or no?
We have two people here. Now I'm like right in front of the camera. I don't know if I'm in a good position here. All right, guys.
With the ZK proof, as you're posting the data to on chain, is that
That's the $100.
so? That's $100.
That's the $100.
How are we posting that? Like obviously with the op return concerns here, and like as we move forward with knots and core and that whole nonsense.
No, ZK proof is not post in an OP return.
Where's it going?
It's posting in, what do you call this thing? Not in Taproot. Not in Taproot. Was that
Description envelope.
the witness? Yes.
Right.
It's actually LAN port side. You know the BitVM technology. So this is kind of following the BitVM flow, the LAN port signature.
Okay.
Every bit is LAN port side.
Do we run into any problems should knots become more dominant or?
I don't want to get into the knots. I don't want to get into the knots. Thank you.
Do covenants and things like that help us if we ever get to that discussion?
This protocol is trustless even without covenant. Okay, very important. And the reason is because our protocol is not a bridge. It's a vault that is connected to a specific application. So the people who are in this application will be co-signing that vault. And so you don't have to trust an external covenant committee.
Okay, but does it get more efficient with covenants? Like I know with with HTLCs, like with Lightning and whatnot, that does help. I think.
Yeah, then you don't have to pre-sign transactions. I think with covenant you don't need to pre-sign transactions.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, David.
Hello.
So, on this trustless vaults design, is each time somebody bridges over, is that fungible? That still was unclear to me. And
Yeah.
I'm curious, like, if that is an issue or not.
Yeah. So actually, the concept of trustless vault does not involve creating a wrap asset. Okay, there's no wrap asset, so there's no fungible wrap asset. Okay. Now that being said, for a particular application like Morpho, we would create an internal fake, in some sense, asset, which is ERC20, to maintain compatibility with Morpho. Because Morpho only accepts ERC20 as a collateral asset, okay? But this ERC20 is restricted, so it's not fungible. You cannot spend it outside this particular loan position.
Does that reintroduce any sort of additional assumption on
No.
top of the vault?
No. Happy to discuss this offline.
Thank you.
Right, any other questions? Okay.
Who sets out the liquidation thresholds?
So this is a loan parameter, right? So when you create a market, that market has a set of parameters. One of the parameters is the LLTV. So when a borrower comes in, okay, then he comes in and he looks at the LTV. Is this LTV good? If not, then he won't participate. But there's some pretty standard numbers for LTV. You don't just arbitrarily pick some.
All right, I think that's all.
One more, wow.
So when say the collateral reaches a specific LTV, if this works on a partially signed transaction, does it alter the destination address?
No, the destination address is fixed.
And then how
Because the two paths, one is going to the borrower and one is going to the liquidator, those are known entities when the vault is set up.
So could a liquidator be any interested party that wanted to come and liquidate?
Yeah, okay. Okay, then we have to take that question offline, because there are variations on this design where you can have permissionless liquidation. Permissionless liquidation. So anybody can come and liquidate, but then you have to trust some other party to actually get the Bitcoin. So there's like a two-step process, and you have to do some fronting of capital, etc. So that gets to be a little bit more complicated, which I'm happy to talk offline.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right, we now have a break of 10 minutes. Thank you so much, David.
Thank you, thank you.
Answers. We'll come back in 10 minutes for the first panel. See you in 2 minutes.